Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags Metal Reviews, and today we're giving you guys our final review of Death and Anthology by Enterpriser. So I guess one of the probably biggest releases of the year so far. A lot of people were looking forward to this album. I was looking forward to this album, and we've finally listened to it constantly throughout the week. And we're gonna give you guys a final review. So, one big thing about this album, and I believe I mentioned it last week, that really allows it to flourish above some others is that the songs have their own personality. There's a lot of albums that sound really similar to each other. There are a lot of albums that kind of struggle to have songs that stand out, and even ones we recently reviewed, like for example, that Vitriol album, a lot of the songs blended together. This album does not do that, by any means. And what's cool is that, you can like songs, you can dislike songs, but I feel like every song has its own complete personality and experience. No two songs sound like, oh, it's just this again. Like they all, no matter how you enjoy them, are gonna stand out. And I noted that. There are some songs I like more than others, but I still kind of take into account, well, this one does have its own experience. I feel the way I feel about it, but it's its own experience. So we do like ending stuff on a high note, so I guess I'll try to speak of the track I kind of just rated the lowest out of them.
Okay.
And that was I Divine.
What?
Now, here's the thing with this track. It's not like, this album sets a lot of really high bars with its peaks. This one, so it kind of creates an unfair expectation for the rest of the record, right? I kind of found that this one was coming and going for me, even though I did really like the kind of eeriness and creepiness of this track, but it just wasn't one that just stood out to me. I can't really speak too much in depth about what's quote unquote wrong with it, because it's not even a bad track. It's just not as good as other tracks I found.
Fair.
So I guess that's probably one of his highest rated tracks.
It's one of my highest rated tracks.
Well, if we're talking about some of my highest rated tracks, The Reaper Servant.
Wait, was that the only song that you were like kind of low on?
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
So, The Reaper Servant is a banger. I love that song when we reacted to it way back. I loved it last week, and I love it this week. The thrashy sections, the chorus, the drumming, the God is not here section, every single time, like, fuck yeah, let's go. Super duper awesome. That song is a beast. Another one I really like is Spineless, and I like that this was placed right after The Reaper Servant, because that song starts out slow with this piano. It's a good small break from Reaper Servant, and then it picks up later. So then you get back into the craziness. So I think it's smart to have this barn burner, and then the next song also be a burner, but it starts slow to give you that small amount of breathing room. Because if they didn't do that, maybe stuff might start to mesh a little bit.
It's about 1.5 minutes, the intro on that song.
Yeah, it's a very wise decision by
It almost sounds like a movie score. That's what it sounds like to me. Like, it almost sounds like that kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, really nice. It's not one of my highest rated tracks, but I do want to mention that I think Abyss is a sick intro because it hypes you up. And it does lead into Face of Fear. It doesn't go super perfectly right into it, but it does bleed into the track.
Yeah.
But I just think you got this dreary open, and then when the band hits in this track, it's like, yeah, this is awesome. It's super cool every single time I hear it. The other two songs that really, really stood out to me the most were Accelerated Demise and Blood and Teeth. Accelerated Demise is such a crazy instrumental, sick riffs, awesome solos from everyone. And I'm listening to this song, I'm like, this is the kind of song I would love to see the band close a set with.
Yeah.
Either close a set or they close the set and then come back for encore after. That's what I think would be super duper cool. The main set closes with this just barn burner instrumental craziness going on, and then they play a few songs as an encore. I think that would be awesome. Every time I heard that song, I'm like, this is how a set should end. It's just this crazy explosion of energy. Blood and Teeth is a very powerful song. I think they really pushed the boundaries of deathcore really hard with this. I like that. I like that bands are doing that. It's similar to how Whitechapel had done it. with their last 2 records. And it's got this pretty beautiful opening, and when the band comes in, similar to Abyss, it hits like a truck. And you got this chorus that is fun to sing, melody's great, like it's something that gets into your head in a really, really good way. So to do that with this like brutal deathcore song is impressive. I also really like how the ending of the song, it kind of reminds me of the title track from the last Sleep Token album, where it ends with just that super hard breakdown and they jam it out. These guys do it with a deathcore, like the deathcore breakdown, which I thought was really cool and creative, that it's like you have this crazy ending and it's like this is where the only spot they really do the deathcore breakdown.
Okay.
So I thought that was pretty cool. There's also this one small riff, they don't do it for long, where like the drums are messing around with the rides.
Okay.
Fucking love that every single time, and I pointed that out when we reacted to the video for it. That and it's not there for long, but it stands out every single time. Songs like those are some of the best you can hear on records. That always have those small moments that mean a lot every single time. So, you know, there's a lot of. I feel like it's a really well-rounded album in terms of quality. Like those are just, you know, some of the highest points for me. But there were still a lot of tracks that were just super awesome regardless, and I feel like the album just set a really high bar for itself, and for the like almost the entire thing it was delivering. I enjoyed it.
Nice. I got to agree with a few things. Reaper Servant, definitely banger of a song. You mentioned a lot of things that I had notes on. I'm going to mention one more thing that you didn't touch on, and that's just the cymbal work during the solo and throughout the song. I thought was just a little extra fancy stuff in there. I thought was cool. I agree on Accelerated Demise, the instrumental, which we also touched on in our first impression, so I'm not going to rehash that again, but just really, really good. I also agree on Blood and Teeth. That song grew on me a bit. It was one of my, I guess, you know, bottom tier songs on a first impressions because it kind of has like an emo vibe to it. It's got a lot of clean vocals. But for me, the clean vocals really, really work on this song. They're really, really nice. They really hit the right spot. And I feel like the song's just really well written. It's got I don't know what the message behind it is, but I take it to mean some stuff about like maybe toxic relationships or something like that, or maybe being betrayed or something like that. But there's definitely some interesting themes that could be extracted from the lyrics. And I felt like when I was listening to it, it was making me think. It was making me try to consider what this means and stuff like that. And I like when songs get the brain, you know, the brain wheels moving. So, really good stuff. It's one of the ones, I think I mentioned this before, it has more of the metalcore vibe to it, which I'm fine with. These guys aren't trying to pigeonhole themselves into a specific genre. They're just doing what feels right to them, and I totally respect that. I wish more bands would do that. So this song is an example of that kind of thing. I gotta disagree on I Divine. So I Divine's one of my top tracks, and the main reason, I mean, overall I think it's just an awesome song, but the main reason is the riff in the chorus is so fucking good that it just went into the playlist, and I'm like, I can't see anybody not loving this fucking riff. It's just so nice. I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm alone on this, I'm not sure. I also like how it ends acoustic, right? So it has this awesome song, it ends acoustic. And then it also has that open air double bass roll, which I did mention in the first impression, but it's worth mentioning again
that is sick.
Because it's always awesome. The album falls apart for me on a couple of the songs. So Casket of Rust and Curse of Flesh. So track 6 and track 11, which are both the 2 longest songs on the album, for one. 704 and 706, respectively. These songs are not bad songs. I gotta stress that. They don't ruin the album. But they're the kind of song that they just come and go. And I tried so many times through the week to really listen and focus to these songs. And every single time I lost focus and ended up doing something else or forgetting the song was on. And then half the way, the song would be half over and I'm like, shit, I missed a bunch of stuff. I gotta go back and listen to it again. And I would keep losing focus. Songs like that where I can't withhold my attention, to me, are not good tracks. It's missing something. And a lot of the times, all the song needs is something near the end or something at some point, doesn't have to be the end, that really stands out that I'm gonna look forward to. and that's it. Then it can make the whole song, like the riff in I Divine, right? The rest of the song doesn't really have anything that's mind-blowing about it, but I'll stay for that riff, right? Those two songs don't really have anything at all, and the fact that they're both the longest songs in the album, I think hurts the album quite a bit. The rest of the album, so Face of Fear, Spineless, King of Ruination, Malevolent Force, those songs are all pretty damn good, but I wasn't considering them like playlist worthy good. They're just solid songs, right? So Malevolent Force is a song we mentioned before. It's the one that has this, like, I think it's didgeridoo at the beginning. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know my instruments that well, but I picture a didgeridoo playing the noise. And then there's this tribal chant. I thought it sounded like a bunch of cheeseheads chanting Green Bay, Green Bay. But whatever they're saying, I don't know. They're definitely not chanting Green Bay, but I
believe
it was
they're
funny.
chanting Heathen.
Heathen? Yeah,
I looked
maybe.
at the lyrics. I'm pretty sure they're saying Heathen.
Okay, well, it sounds like Green Bay to me, so I'm just picturing a bunch of cheeseheads. But yeah, I like the fact that, you know, they play around with tempos. They play around with different things. They break it up for the chorus. They go mellow at a section. Then they kick it back into high gear. And they do a lot of things like that.
Yeah, I think in that song, the verse is really catchy, and the grooves are sick. Like, that song has the complete package, you know? And that one did grow on me. Like, I already liked it, but the more I listened to it, I'm like, this song is sick.
Yeah, like I said, overall it's a good song, but it lacked something to look forward to. Like, as a song as a whole, it's fine, but there was nothing in the song that I was like, oh yeah, that part's coming up, right? It doesn't have that. King of Ruination is another example of something like that, where it's like, good song overall, but doesn't have that special spark part. Some interesting things about King of Ruination. I felt like they pulled out their inner Meshuggah for this song.
100%. Like, it sounds like Rational Gaze.
Yeah, exactly. The opening riffs I thought were cool. They kind of sound like angry cats. Like, if you ever seen videos on the internet of cats that are angry, they kind of make this weird, like,
oh, yeah, okay, I see what you mean.
The opening riff kind of sounds like that.
Mean.
I thought that was funny. And I also got a bit of Randy Blythe vibes in the vocals on this song, which I thought was interesting. And nothing to do with the Ben Jur part, because Ben Jur's features on this track as well, but he does his typical super low, you know.
The deep stuff. Funny thing about that song, like, you know, I mentioned that it sounds like Rational Gaze, and it still does, but it got me questioning, like, it's the kind of thing, like, let's say, you know, there's this artist that you really like, you love their art style, and you find this other artist who has a really similar art style, so you sit there and you think either, oh, well, this guy's just ripping that guy off, or you think, wow, more of this content that I know I already like.
Yeah.
So it's like, you could essentially apply the same thing to here. It's like, yeah, it sounds like Rational Gaze, but I love that song. So it's like more of that, right? It's kind of like hard to figure out what side of that I'm on, because I know
I've struggled with that forever. Like, when I hear something that sounds like something else, do I consider it a plus if I like it, or do I consider it a negative because it sounds like it's ripping something off? It's just really hard to figure out where you want to put your opinion. Yeah. In this case, I'm not a huge Meshuggah fan, so you would be more like, you see that connection a lot more. I just know it sounded like Meshuggah, but I'm not entirely familiar with Rational Gaze, so I'm not sitting there going, oh, this sounds too much like that other song. I just know it's got that Meshuggah vibe to it.
Yeah.
The fact that it's the only song on the album that really has that, actually, some parts of Face of Fear also sounded a bit Meshuggah-y.
Yeah, and I even mentioned that one of the riffs on that song sounds a lot like a riff that Loathe did on one of their songs.
That too.
Like, rhythmically, it was really close.
Exactly. So there's stuff that's going to remind you of other things, but for me, it wasn't a big downfall for this album because it was like a few bits here and there.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, you know, nothing too drastic.
It was really only those two in terms of like what reminded me about their stuff, just those two, and other than that, like, the album didn't really do that to me.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, the album kind of does, you know, the band is doing what feels good to them, so you get stuff like that sounds djenty, you get stuff that sounds proggy, you get stuff that sounds deathcore, you get stuff that sounds metalcore, and probably a bunch of other stuff in between. And, you know, I really like that. I really like when bands just pull from their influences and they don't try to fit into a pocket. And they don't try to say, okay, we're a deathcore band, we gotta play deathcore. So we gotta throw everything else out the window, deathcore it is. Like, even songs like Casket of Rust, which again was one of my lowest rated songs, they have some orchestral elements in that song. And I got some Dimmu Borgir vibes from that.
I really like how that song slowly picks up. Like, when the riff starts going and then it speeds up after the intro, I like that a lot.
Yeah. Exactly. So they do stuff like that, and, you know, it's got some stuff going for it, but
Well, let's see what the ratings say. And I'm going to start first by saying this album, like I said, stands out amongst many. It's got a lot of unique moments, a lot of interesting moments. Every song has something to look at. Even if you're not huge on it, you can say, well, yeah, it did stand out as its individual track and has something about it that's different than the rest, right? But on top of that, the peaks of this album are through the roof. They do such amazing stuff on this record, and I think it's overall very, consistently strong. It's gonna get a toe tag from me. I enjoyed it through and through throughout the week. Awesome stuff from Enterprise Earth. These guys are really evolving themselves. The Chosen was awesome, and they went a new direction with this one, and they killed it.
Yeah, I think the band is evolving themselves. I think they're also pushing the genre forward in certain ways by not conforming to certain expectations, which I think is good and a plus all around just for metal in general. So we've been doing this channel for how long? Well, 7 years now, something like that. 6, 7 years, something like that. We're on the seventh
approaching
year.
On the seventh year, yes.
So I've always kind of reviewed albums based on trying to be objective, but also it's opinion based, right?
It's just gonna be subjective.
Going with the gut, right? But this year, I developed a new scoring method for reviewing albums, and I'm trying to just standardize it so my ratings are more consistent. Okay. So basically, what I do, and I'm not going to go into too much details about it, don't worry, but I rate each song, and each song gets a score, and then those scores are averaged out, and then it gets a percentage, right? All the math is done, it gets a percentage, and then that's my final score. So this album has 4 songs that I think are fantastic. It's got 2 songs that I would consider just meh. I could do without them. And then the rest of the album is pretty good, but not the best. So based on those feelings, the score that I'm giving this album is a 7.5, which is very disappointing because when the week started, I listened to this album and I thought, this is fantastic. This is a masterpiece album. I'm gonna love this. I immediately thought, easy toe tag. I immediately thought, this album is setting the bar for 2024 and it's gonna be hard to fucking beat. That was the beginning, the first few days of the week.
Yeah, well, that's why we do things the way we do, right?
As the week went on, things started slipping. I started going, is this song really that good? Let me listen to it again and see if I can maybe find something to hype myself up about it. No, couldn't do it. I tried Face of Fear, Spineless, King of Ruination, Malevolent Force. Those are the songs that were on the precipice, and I just couldn't do it. And I gave them as many chances as I possibly could. I even went back and to Casket of Rust and Curse of Flesh and said, you know what, maybe these songs are worth a bit of a higher score. Listen to them more, couldn't justify it. I really, really wanted to. I feel like if I gave this album a toe tag, I'd be cheating my own feelings of the album, right? So I feel like it's just missing one more thing. It just didn't make it. But you know what? It's not the first time we've given 7.5s on this channel. No. There's a lot of albums that are just right there. One more awesome part in one song could have made this.
That's insane. That's consider, insane. How close it is. And we've had this situation happen before where one of us gives a toe tag, the other gives it 7.5, which is 0.5 away from making a toe tag. It's that close.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think
that's still a really good album.
I think when you mentioned the reason why we do the reviews the way we do, if we reviewed this album after listening to it the first time, it would have got a toe tag. But that's almost like beginners hype, right?
Yeah, it's your first, we do first impressions for a reason, right?
Exactly.
That's what we think at first, and then it's we listen to it some more, develop our opinions more.
After a week, you get a much better, well-rounded idea of how you really feel about the album. And I feel like this one, for me, it doesn't quite reach that toe tag level. The Chosen, I really want to go back and listen to it again now because back then I didn't review with this method.
Yeah.
I didn't score it the same way I scored it now. So I might actually go back and listen to that and score it with the new method and see if it's toe tag territory as well. But I'm pretty sure it will be because it was number 2 on my top 5 list or somewhere around there. Yeah. So it sucks. I mean, I really thought this was going to make it, and I almost feel bad, but I also don't feel bad because I'm just being honest, right? Yeah. I want to be truthful with how things ended up. It's basically that's how the cookie crumbled.
The numbers don't lie.
The numbers don't lie. And the thing is, I rate them color-coded first, so I don't know what the result's going to be. And then at the end, I put all the numbers in, and then the math's all done, and then I look at the number and I go, fuck. Fuck. Because I thought it was going to make it.
Yeah.
Right? If you want, 73% was the 73%. Wow. So I just round up 7.5. So,
well, either way, man, A toe tag for me and a 7.5 from Vile Self. Regardless, we both still enjoyed this album.
Yeah.
Overall, very, very nicely done from Enterprise Earth, and we suggest you guys check out this album if you haven't already, and let us know in the comments, what's your favorite song? What's your least favorite song? What are your thoughts on this album compared to The Chosen? We love to hear what you guys have to say, and subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. Also, like this video if you haven't. I'm TV Fish.
I'm Vile Self.
We'll see you guys later.